God bless everybody today. It's October 1st of 2023 and things are ramping up. There's been a suicide bomb in Turkey and a number of things going on. So let's get into this right away and I'll show you what's happening out here. So just in the last few hours, we've had this suicide attack near Turkish Parliament. One of the terrorists, in my understanding, blew himself up, and this has caused all kinds of problems in Turkey, and so they're scrambling to decide how to deal with this. And so as you move forward, you're going to realize that this is going to cause real problems as we move into the next few weeks here. Now, I've talked about these watch dates for a while on my paradigm, and I'll show you that paradigm at the end of this video. But we found those dates of September 18th, and then that was the start of a ramp up. Erdogan had threatened to leave the EU. The other date that we need to look at is October 9th, which potentially could be one of two things, I believe: an attack on Iran in force, which will change the Middle East, or an invasion by Turkey around that time or just after that, or potentially both, an attack from Israel on Iran and an invasion of Turkey. All this is going to happen, I believe, in October of this year, and so let's see how that happens. We've also got that last watch date that I'm really concerned about, and that would lead us into a besieging of Jerusalem on December 22nd of 23, which is Tevet. Let's look at what's going on here, because Erdogan is getting ready to leave the EU. I've been talking about this for a while. He's going to go in and genocide those Kurds. He's going to invade Syria and Iraq, and no one's going to stop him, because God has created him to be the sword of God against his nation Israel, for them to come back to him and repent. And it's not my words, it's in the Bible. It's stated that he is going to send the king of the north against Israel, and this is going to culminate in the next few months. So Erdogan's been waiting 40 years, 4 decades, to join the EU, and they have not allowed him to do this. At this point, he's not going to. He doesn't care. He won't tolerate this. He's hoping for those F-16s from the U.S., and Mendez has been shutting him off on that. But Mendez is not a problem anymore since he's been indicted for bribery, and so this has opened potentially a door for Erdogan. So he's trying to hold off as long as possible to get these weapons of mass destruction like the F-16s and stuff like that he would then use against us in Israel. So hopefully we won't give them up. But it's possible. We seem to like to give weapons away for money, regardless of what destruction it does out here. So he's not, I've been talking about this for a while. Erdogan is not going to tolerate this. He's a dictator. He's not going to tolerate the Kurds doing this stuff to him. So when you go down and you look at what's going on here, you're going to realize that he is going to leave. This is a Daniel 8 prophecy. I mean, it's just that clear. No one's talking about Daniel 8 but me, as far as I can tell. I've got one other individual out here that actually knows something about Jewish calendars and stuff that does see this, but beyond in general, the population doesn't see Daniel 8. They think it's a history lesson, okay? It happened in the past. Guess it's not going to happen in the future again. And it's really interesting. If you go to Daniel 7, we start talking about those 3 beast footprints that end up being a beast footprint. So you have the leopard, the lion, and the bear. Those 3 footprints end up being a footprint of the beast footprint. I've showed you that on the charts. And it also indicates that there would be a transition through that. Iraq would fall first. That was Saddam Hussein today. Then you would see the destruction of Iran fall next, and then the destruction of Turkey, because when you go into Daniel 8, even though Turkey attacks Israel, Turkey and the leader is destroyed. It clearly says the horn on the goat will be broken, and he's destroyed, and he's buried, and then he's resurrected, as I've been talking about for some time. And yes, I get it. Most people don't believe this is a resurrectional event. It's just a man called Antichrist. But that is not what's going to happen here. When Satan's thrown down, he's impregnating this thing coming out of a grave called the abyss that's being held there. And you can look at that in Isaiah 14. So Erdogan's getting ready to leave. He's clearly told you that he's going to do this. He's not happy at all. If he leaves the EU, he will leave NATO, and this will then open the door for him to basically do whatever he wants. And I believe I made this comment that something would happen in Turkey, like a bombing or something that was going to cause Erdogan to protect his border, force him to go against the Kurds, something that's going to create havoc in his world that would then force him to accelerate this. And then we've also watched all that going on in Sweden with the Koran burnings, the protests, and all that happening as you're watching this war between Israel and Iran pump up. And like I said, you got to watch that October 9th date. I believe that something is going to happen on that very specific date. Either an invasion by Turkey or a physical attack on the nation of Iran by Israel. That would lead into besieging of Jerusalem by the December 22nd of 23 based on my paradigm. So Erdogan's telling us that he's never going to allow them to achieve their goals after this attack. So he's not going to sit on this. He's going to ramp this up, and it's going to get intense out here real soon. Now, we are in the fall feast. We're in the fall feast and the Feast of Tabernacles, which I believe ends on October 6th, and that leads us into October 9th. And so I believe God is showing us the season that we're in. In this article in Barron's also, Turkey no longer expects anything from EU, says Erdogan. So why would he stay here? He spent 40 years trying to get in this. Oh, let's let Sweden in right away. But hey, leave me hanging out here for 40 years, man. You know, don't worry about that. I'm just a dictator getting ready to take over the Middle East. But, you know, hey, don't worry about me. Let's look at Russia and China and North Korea and all these other places. I'm guaranteeing you no one's talking about Daniel 8 right now. If they're not talking about Daniel 8, they do not know what they're talking about. All they're talking about is Psalm 83 and Ezekiel 38 and 39. Man, if you can't see that that's not a SEALs war, and that he clearly tells you that he's going to burn weapons for 7 years, alluding to an up and coming tribulation period and great tribulation period, then you ain't got it figured out. You know what I'm saying? He's burying dirt graves for 7 months in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And when you go to there, what is listed first after the leader of Magog, which is in Turkey? Okay, it's Persia. Persia and then the two African nations, Put and Cush. Okay, so you need to understand that Persia is absorbed before Ezekiel 38 and 39 can happen. So why are we not looking at Daniel 8? Why is it a history lesson? Why can't it reoccur in the future? Okay, it's happened in the past. It happened during Alexander the Great's time. And I've talked about how this is going to replay itself out in the future, just like it did in the past. And he's given us these really cool date stamps that nobody seems to understand except me, I guess. I don't know anything special out here. I'm just saying these markers are out here. Somebody's going to figure it out, and they're going to tell people, and then they're going to go from there. Look, we're within possible days. We're on October 1st, you know, October 9th's coming, and even December 22nd, it's only a few months away at this point. This is going to intensify. Now, we've had a little bit of a plus on the government side, I guess. McCarthy caved completely, gave Joey and all the Democrats basically everything so that they could get actually a pay raise. And they could supply more weapons to Ukraine, and they could keep the government running for another 47 days or whatever it is that they've got going on. So we can do this all over again. McCarthy is so lame. He needs to be removed. It's ridiculous that this man has our best interests, and the Republicans are at no point any better than the Democrats at this point if they're willing to vote these types of terrible legislations in. But yes, they gave themselves a raise. You're all struggling out here, but I'll guarantee you they aren't going to. So anyway, I won't get too political. I'm not a big political guy here. So anyway, just keep your eye on this. This is going to ramp up quickly. I expect in the next month this is going to really break out. Um, I think by within the next 8-9 days we're going to see something happen out here that's going to force Erdogan to literally bring himself into this war and change the Middle East. And if he's the white horseman, he will bring a quarter of the world into war. He will unleash the next three horsemen. And when you get to that fifth seal martyr, those are the people that are dying over there in the seals war, okay, before the sixth seal breaks and destroys this man in front of you and all the nations that go against Israel by the end of this year, first part of next year, based on my paradigm. And I was going to show you that real quick, and then we'll drop off on this one because I don't want to make it too long. So to find the paradigm, you go to endofdaysurvival.com, free Wix site, don't sell anything except information. Been out here a long time. Click on this chart here, which gives you the paradigm. Let's do that real quick. You can see how this works. Pops up the paradigm, hopefully in a few seconds. And we're in this area right here. Okay, so just realize that this is where we're at in the paradigm. When you bring this up, I put these dates out here for a specific reason, because based on verse that all the prophets give us, they're marked up here. You can see all the verses that we are in this very interesting date stamps of September 18th, which we started to see a ramp up, potential assassination attempt on the national security guy that is doing the Temple Mount in Israel, and so that guy's been that's been foiled, but that was a potential assassination on that guy that's been causing all that trouble on the Temple Mount. We're talking about that October 9th date, or 21 days after this date based on his time stamp, and then right after that we would see a potential Daniel 8 war that leads into Ezekiel 38-39 war that leads into a besieging of Jerusalem, which would then lead into a sixth seal destruction of Erdogan and his armies. If you look at Revelation 8:1 and 2, it says the seventh seal is broken. Half an hour of silence, and then he hands out 7 trumpets. So 7 seals occur first, 7 trumpets second, 7 bowls last, or God's wrath. We're not appointed for God's wrath, and so we need to understand that. So the December 22nd, which is the 10 to Tevet, is extremely important because that was the actual sieging of Jerusalem on the time that the Babylonians did it, the very first time when the first temple was destroyed in 589, 588 BC. And so would this happen on the very same day, as God does things that reoccur constantly on the same dates? I believe this is a really high watch period for that time. Once Erdogan would be destroyed here, and we see that that would happen 15 days after he gives these nations authority for 1 hour, or 15 days on the biblical calendar, because 1,000 years of ours is like 1 day of God. And so when you break that down in a prophetic calendar, it's about 15. 1 hour is about 15 days of ours. So I equate that to, once he attacks, the sieging occur, you would see a sixth seal event pop right after that. First part of January, you'd have these 7 months of burials and the weapons burned for 7 years, working into the tribulation. And then, wow, look at that, the 4 winds are being held back until they're released on the 6th trumpet. Interesting. But in that same breath, right after January 6th, you potentially will see a third of the world decimated. I think the communist areas by the first four trumpets prior to the bottomless pit opening, Antichrist and the false prophet rising. You get that signing of the treaty, and then as you work through tribulation to abomination, you finally become to the seventh trumpet and the first rapture, or what I call the rapture of the elect saints and martyrs from great tribulation. Whether that includes the fifth seal martyrs, it doesn't indicate that. So they may rise when the white throne comes down and they open the book of life, and all the people rise and are judged in the book of life itself. So keep an eye on everything. These are pretty important dates as we move forward here. And like I say, if you go up here, you can see those time stamps. You can, and I've gone videos that showed you this. Originally used Gregorian calendar dates, went to Hebrew calendar dates because it made more sense. And actually, when I did that, it made a whole lot more sense on the charting. So anyway, watch all this stuff. This is really ramping up. It's going to get crazy out here. If you haven't put oil in your lamp, you better do it right now, because this was going, look, he says it's a whirlwind. It's going to break so quick you won't even know what happened, and you won't get ready, or won't be able to get ready or prepared once it does, because it'll just be chaos out here before long. So if you haven't getting ready, if you haven't been doing what's required, if you haven't been putting oil in your lamp, then you should. And if you're one of these pre-rapture people, that's fine, man. You know, maybe you should prepare for both scenarios and hope that you get taken sooner instead of later, which I think is going to happen back here on October 2nd, in my world, on a sabbatical Saturday on the Feast of Trumpets. Probably around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but that's just my guess, because that's when he was crucified. But maybe it's when he raised. You know, maybe it's the time he raises instead of the time he's crucified. And I think he was there for about 3 hours, because they took him, they removed him and put him in the grave right before sunset. So it would have been around 6. Just speculation on that one. Anyway, God bless everybody. Have a great night. My wife is not doing well. We are down to potential days or a week. I don't expect it to go much further than that. And at this point, I wish the Lord would take her pain away. So I don't have a good update. That's my update, and we're just trying to make her comfortable. So God bless. Have a great night.